Carl here from Brrraaains A Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial.com for short, and it's taking the nostalgia goggles off. Man, we're about 2 weeks into this now. So, right, what's the date today? 15th? Yeah, today's the 15th. So we're over 2 weeks into this. And as luck will have it, got a bit ill. So if I sound a bit croaky and a little bit scattier than usual, it's because I'm currently ill. Such is life, but I do want to continue this. I don't want to abandon it. I have all the films set up. I've watched most of them, kind of doing it day by day at the moment because I just don't have time, but still, looking back and enjoying this kind of nostalgia run and looking back at the, films that made my childhood, the horror movies that affected and left scars on me from when I was a youngster. But this one's an intriguing one. Now, I do suspect if you saw yesterday's episode, which was obviously about House, you maybe expected that House 2, the second story, was going to come up, but then also you maybe didn't, because it's so significantly different. Thing is, I did mention it in that video, so it's no so massive surprise I think that I am talking about it in this specific video. But the reasons why are a little bit different. Now, I struggled now, probably more than any other movie on this list, to see House 2, the second story, as a horror movie from an adult perspective. However, even rewatching it, I do acknowledge it's got horror themes and horror elements, but the majority of it feels more like a fantasy and adventure movie for the most part. I mean, the story is quite wacky in itself. The house, clearly not the same one from the first film, but I guess it's not supposed to be. And this crystal skull, which everyone seems to want and come from different dimensions within the house, but only at certain times, particularly at night, they come to try and capture it, and then a group of people kind of have to go and get it back. Otherwise, it will kill, Gramps, which is, he's kept alive via this skull, which the two main characters, Jesse, and I can't remember the other guy. I always remember the other guy as being like the Thrall, the villain of Fright Night. And he's really creepiness, whereas this is really likeable. But they end up digging up Gramps, who's still alive. I love the zombie makeup on Gramps because obviously they want him to look dead, look decaying, but they also want him to look cute and lovable. And he is lovable. As a kid, the whole line about like being a 180-year-old fart used to crack me up. But yeah, he is adorable, and there's lots of adorable stuff like that throughout. But their adventures to try and get this skull, where do they end up? My goodness me. So they end up in the sort of temple one where they're fighting with swords, cutlasses and things like that. They end up in like a dinosaur jungly area. There's a lot going in this, and there's all quite imaginative stuff. A lot of it doesn't hold up visually either, of course, because of its age and budget, but it's an intriguing idea that doesn't really fit well within horror, mainly because they don't really take it from a horrific perspective. I think they want it to be more fun and silly, often highlighted by the characters' behaviours, their reactions to these events, and the music. The music's a major one as well. I mean, now you're supposed to be terrified of this little freaking like caterpillar dog thing and all that, and the laughs that come with that. But I thoroughly enjoy that. And maybe that's why then the actual sort of horror elements do work. So obviously you've got this sort of big bad guy who's introduced at the start as being some sort of like gunslinger shrouded in darkness, killing Jesse's parents. Is it Jesse's parents? Yeah, it is Jesse's parents. I can't quite remember how the film begins with that section there, but yeah, he kills Jesse's parents, of course, because he's just a young boy and sends them off. So after doing all of that, and then we don't really see him again to the end, but there's always a sense that that malevolent figure is around. But at the end, his arrival and how he behaves and acts is quite terrifying. It's shot in a way that I think adds a certain level of scares to it. That dinner scene of taking off the cloche and him rising up, I loved that as a kid. Like, that's a problem. Even now, I feel like standing up and clapping and cheering when that happens. But it never terrified me as a child. It certainly never left a scar on me. What this movie did was leave just strong, lovable memories more than anything else. That when I think of House, I automatically think of House 2 as well. For the longest time, I couldn't quite work out which one I preferred. I think it's the first one, just about. But I love them both equally. I think they offer wildly different things and are both well worth watching, particularly if you've never seen either. I mean, House 2, the second story, gets a shout out and scream too. I disagree with the assertion in that it's a superior sequel, but just different and unique and imaginative with, I think, some really strong acting. Everyone really tries to harden this and everybody's putting a lot of effort in to create something quite special here. I just wish it kind of held up more in the horror department. I think when I went back into this, I was kind of thinking, okay, I remember it not being too scary, but I kept thinking of that figure, that gunslinger figure, and thinking, okay, the music, the synth that sort of surrounds his arrival and the click-clacking of his spurs and all. I can remember that being quite chilling as a kid. It's not really as an adult, if I'm honest, but it is still a beloved film. It's still one I thoroughly think holds up for the most part. I ain't going to promise that a lot of the effects and sets and stuff work, but I think the overall vibe of what they're going for does. House 2, the second story. What do you reckon? You got any thoughts on this one? I'd love to know what they are. Let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website, where reviews, news, and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at gbhbl. Just search for gbhbl and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.